Hey guys, Nick here, and coming at you guys with a lunch break video from my car. So please forgive the audio quality for what it is. Should be good enough, maybe a little crispy, and I've got my AC on, but that's how it's gonna have to be this time. I thought I'd just get on here and kind of freeform it as usual, but I've got a couple different topics in mind that all kind of coalesce together in some way, so we'll see what happens. Being at work, I kind of feel like talking about work. I'm a customer service worker, broadly speaking, and speaking is kind of the point of this video and kind of the topic of interest that's on my mind right now. I've always been a really language-centered guy. I love to read and write. I learned Spanish as a second language, not from, a more removed theoretical, educational standpoint, like in school. I took Spanish and didn't really retain much of it from school, but I learned it in person out of I wouldn't say dire necessity to learn it, but out of both convenience and I would say lack of anything else to intellectually stimulate me. At the time when I lived in a heavily Spanish-speaking area, it just sort of came about by my own curiosity and desire to connect to people who mostly spoke Spanish, which was a lot of the people around me. So language and verbal expression has always been pretty important to me, and it's for that reason that I've worked I've worked not the exact same job, but in the exact same company of public facing customer service for over 5 years now. Not for love of the game. Most of us are not doing our jobs out here for love of the game. It's the goal, and we all can, I think, find different pieces and parts of the job that are a little bit personally satisfying. I do. This is water, by the way, free water, just in a Starbucks cup, because it's what's available and convenient about my daily routine. I'm not a Starbucks worker, by the way, but nice try. But that would be one of my major gripes about my job is, public facing customer service workers are not expected, and in fact they're expected not to, you represent the company and you're supposed to be a nice placid face. We actually sign a recurring contractual agreement with the company that we will and are required to smile at customers and say hi to them and wave at them within a certain radius of space, like 6 feet around us. Not the kind of thing I imagine would have been done back in old decades past of the 20th century and so forth. I'm someone, and I do think that I'm a much different type of employee in my industry. Obviously, I think that my tendency, when I started out in this line of work at 19 years old, not as confident and outgoing and liable to just express myself honestly and openly, so I would be more reserved and more stringent to the company policy. And ultimately, I'm compliant to the point where I won't get fired, but I'm a lot different now than my typical coworker. I ride the line a little bit. I never step over the line to the point where I'm in danger of getting fired or in trouble, but I express myself a bit differently. I'm not reluctant to say that I am, what would be the word for it? I am, kind of the reluctant customer service worker. I'm the, I don't hate my job, and I don't hate having to talk to people, but, I bring a note of realness that is kind of contrary to the company culture. Ideally, they wouldn't like any cashiers to express themselves the way that I do. And I might be blowing it up in a grandiose way, over exaggerating it. But I kind of talk to people as acceptable, up to the acceptable limit, at work, how I would talk to them in my personal life. And some people appreciate it, and some people, they just want ass kissing, and I'm not an ass kissy type of person. Unless I really like your ass, and that's not most people. Most people ain't got an ass that I'm willing to kiss. Certainly not out of a sense of servitude. I'm somebody who has a passion for serving and helping, but when and because I want to do it, not because I think that there's nothing else I'm cut out to do, but simperingly, acquiesce to people's demands and conform myself to their personality and what they feel like hearing from me, which is kind of the core of what I'm talking about here. I'm just not compatible in the long term with the kind of job that I have. Obviously, I can do it, and I can suck it up, but there's a huge mental ramification for a lot of jobs. Certainly customer-facing retail service, unless you're the rare unicorn who has some sort of job like that, but feels free to 100% genuinely express yourself. And it's certainly not limited to the lower rung. I mean, everybody in industries like this, even even especially the people who are at the top on site and take on the most responsibility, sometimes those people have to do the most ass kissing because the most responsibility is on them. Nonetheless, I kind of, I've always harbored kind of a feeling of despising, the contractual obligation to rein in my personality. And I don't expect to just be able to endlessly shit talk and have any type of attitude with whoever I like. But at the same time, I don't know, I just have always wondered, what is this facet of our society and this, behavior and expectation that has developed over who knows what length of time, where people just expect dishonesty. They prefer to know that someone's lying to their face in public with their subservience and the way that they communicate, meaning like someone in a customer service position like myself. That's the standard expectation from customers, and they use that as a there are types of customers, plenty of them, who use that sort of as a leash around your neck to, vent out their own frustrations and treat you like a punching bag. And that's certainly not behavior that I tolerate, and I kind of just, in my own acceptable type of way, even if it's nominal and tokenistic, I always express that I'm not appreciating the behavior from the customer. But more broadly than just my own experiences and thoughts on the matter, I wonder, a lot of times if people who are sort of go along to get along with that type of behavior, what I mean by that is people who are just so completely homogenized and integrated into the completely autonomous response, fake niceties. How you doing? Oh, good, thanks. And yourself? Nice weather. Type of behavior. I wonder how many people are just like walking around that have completely lost themselves to it. I have seen many types of or many people in general like that I've worked with, who I feel like have probably lost themselves to that completely. And this is where I'd love to ask you guys, my audience, anyone watching, have you guys ever worked a job where you just kind of had to, bearing in mind that we all have to put on a public face, have you guys ever worked a job where you just had to put on the company face, and act only as prescribed? And how long did you do it for, and how did you like it? Have you guys ever had to give up a job or move to another industry because of hating to do that shit? I feel like it kills people inside. And so having some little bit of ability to rebel against that and actually be heard in some even tokenistic capacity is better than nothing. And there's always controls built into the system that make you feel like you have that without having any actual contrarian influence on the state of things. But I'm curious if anyone can share some perspective on being completely lost in that. I'm not somebody who loses himself in that behavior. And, for that reason, not being somebody who's comfortable being fake, meaning that I try and be myself, and I try and be real with people and give the answers that come naturally from my mind and from my heart and from my personality. The way that I just consciously choose not to integrate into that sort of corporate culture, it obviously loses me points with certain people and certain friendships or whatever type of connections, friend groups or whatever that I might otherwise be involved in. And I've never considered that much of a loss or really regretted or any other type of desire for those types of relationships that I'm missing out on, because I'm in school and working towards a much different future than the job that I hold right now. But the money from that job gets me there and gets me going in that direction. So we all have to have a day job. I've kind of jumped the track on the train of thought here. I think I pretty much said what I had to say and can't think of where else to take it. But this is kind of a follow-up conversation tangentially to my last video, where I had a little bit to say about, institutions and corporations. I'm digging more into their influence and the culture under them in this video, more than a holistic dive into the generational view of corporations and of entities. And I don't think I'll get into the rest of that now, but I do think that I'll springboard off of these last two videos, and probably one of the next ones will be, that discussion about, more of the comparison between generational trust in institutions and why and how it has completely, gradually ramped up into a spiral of dissolvement and distrust and alienation, and why I don't think that corporations and entities care about that anymore, because power has been seduced out of the hands of the people who it used to be important for them to have institutional trust. Trust isn't as important on the part of institutions anymore, because the transfer of power and wealth has largely succeeded. Keep in mind that I'm talking about the United States of America. That's about all I have for you guys. Coming up on 15 minutes here, just a quick little impromptu video. I feel like I want to end it on a positive note. What's a good positive note? I read an article or a headline and like the first half of an article. I haven't read into all of the scientific nuances and data behind it, because I'm an American. What the fuck else do you expect of me? But I did read that American buffalo populations have resurged to the point where wild buffalo are sort of reestablishing natural prairie roaming behaviors, and like flocking and, you know, stampeding across the great American frontier again in some capacity. And I kind of like to believe that that's true without knowing it's true for sure, because looking at the objective information could disappoint me, but choosing to believe what I want to believe is a lot less likely to disappoint me. It's not impossible, but it's a lot less likely. But I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, that's about it. Okay, thanks you guys for watching. Give me a comment, give me a like, give me a dislike if you disliked. Yeah, whatever you guys feel like telling me. Let me know what's on your mind, and have a good one. Bye.